The next part, though, is figuring out how to scale that connection globally. Wex, let's go into our next theme, the next normal, selling across the globe.
Buyers are increasingly used to borderless global commerce. Whether it's between businesses or straight to the consumer, the world is at their fingertips in-store, online, and the apps on their phone. But what does that mean for a brand's growth, and how do they strategize for that? Shimona, I know you're super excited to talk about this. Please take it away.
I am. We know firsthand that there are merchants around the world looking for an experience that connects them with customers across the world. Commerce is a global industry with a global opportunity. Just think about this. Our largest merchants generated $20 billion in cross-border sales in 2020 using our existing tools. And in July, over a quarter of all traffic to Shopify stores came from international buyers. But one of the hardest things about going global is having the insights to know what decisions to make. That's one of the reasons I'm so excited about Shopify Markets. Shopify Markets is surfacing insights directly to you by leveraging our 1.7 million merchant network, allowing you to answer those big, daunting questions. Where should I launch next? What products resonate in those markets? What demographics should I target? Or what are the local payment methods from one region to the next? The fact is, expanding internationally shouldn't be hard or dependent on a brand's size or sophistication. Requirements around currency conversion, language localization, and those dreaded duties and taxes shouldn't be barriers to going global. What really excites me is how Shopify Markets translates into value for the buyer. It allows brands to build trust with their customers through transparent pricing, so customers can make purchasing decisions without worrying about those hidden costs or surprises afterwards. Brands can now go global by default, with everything they need to sell worldwide in one place, right inside the admin, when they're ready to go global.
Expansion into new markets is key to brands looking to share their unique message around the world. Our next guest is doing just that. Seed, a customer life science brand, is looking to transform the microbiome industry one probiotic at a time. Let's hear from their co-founder, Ara Katz.
So I'm here with Ara Katz, who is the co-founder and co-CEO of Seed Health. Hi, Ara.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation with you today, to talk about Seed, how you've built it, where it's going, and to get some insights from you on all things commerce. Let's start, you have been an entrepreneur through your career, right? You've been at Spring and Beachmint and lots of other places in the sort of where commerce and technology come together. What did you learn in those roles and those experiences that you brought to Seed Health when you started it?
I come from a bit of a design thinking background and a storytelling background. And I think one of the things that you learn a lot that's kind of ubiquitous, whether, you're talking pixels to pixels or cells to cells or microbes to microbes with humans in the IRL world versus URL, is that humans are humans. And I think that when it came to health, and I think when it came to what I wanted to put out in the world and what I wanted to create, I actually was interested in how much friction can you put into an experience. Actually, in a lot of ways, what I brought to Seed was wanting to break a lot of the things that I had learned, while also, I think, embracing some of the opportunities that, of course, some of these new platforms and some of the new ways that I think you can use these technologies, but maybe in a more human way.
So let's talk about that though. Like, how did you come to Seed?
I came to Seed since I was little. I think it's the culmination of so many things that I've cared deeply about my whole life. My mom was really sick when I was in high school. She died when I was in my junior year. And that was my real first experience actually researching clinical trials. And that really set me on like a lifelong journey. I've been around pharma and biotech world through people in my life. And I kind of had a good sense of how that science was done, but it didn't have an interest because I felt that the way that those companies were so distant from the patient didn't feel like the human piece to me was really missing. but it really, nothing had the science, nothing had the grounding in something that I felt, kind of what Peter Thiel refers to as kind of 0 to 1, that I felt the microbiome did. And when I got pregnant, right shortly after a miscarriage, when I resigned from from Spring, I just knew I needed to find that thing that was like, I could really commit the rest of my life to a field that I felt was going to fundamentally change the way we think about our bodies, our lives, the choices we make every day, and lead to a lot of solutions that both environmentally and from a human perspective, I think we're going to change the world.
One thing that is really clear when especially on Seed's website, is this amazing amount of education, but in this really streamlined, minimalist, approachable way. Talk to me about like creating this content and cutting through the clutter of the probiotic, world, wellness. Like, it's all very loud and noisy, but you go onto Seed and it feels very quiet, but also very empowering.
I think a lot of people just feel very lost, particularly in categories and worlds like ours, right? Where you do, like, to your point, like, you have so much misinformation, you have so much noise, there's so much hyperbole, there's so many loud claims, and this is going to do this, and this is going to do this. And the truth is that if we want to, for other people, whether they buy our product or not, come away with like a foundational understanding of what's important in the field of probiotics. How would you choose one? What are the things that contribute to making a product that has efficacy around the things it's saying it is? And I think also, like, so much of our quietness comes because, we work with some of the world's greatest scientists. Like, we don't shout about things that shouldn't be shouted about. And I think so much of like the trust and authority, and over time, I think the stewardship of a field that we think is going to change the future of human health, I think you can't be short-sighted when you think like that. And as a result, I think people trust us, and I think we try and be very measured and nuanced and clear. But I think we also try and make it feel beautiful, and also put it in language that doesn't feel so, oh my God, I have like triggering my 7th grade PTSD in bio class, but really try and, I think, create a beautiful container for people to hear things in a way that hopefully makes sense of it for them. And then of course, we offer a lot of opportunities to kind of go deeper as well. And then we do the same thing on our social media and Instagram too.
One of these places that this extends that I find really fascinating as someone who's worked in partnerships a lot is how you look at how you've built Seed University and how you work with partners. So yeah, run us through it and how you came up with it.
Sure. So I'm sure so many people in the audience and, in your world are very familiar with like affiliate marketing, and you're probably also pretty familiar with kind of what I was saying around the field of probiotics, but, you can kind of zoom out and look at social media and how particularly how a lot of affiliate marketing is done. And you can say there's been so much misinformation, so much sensationalism for the sake of a percentage and a commission. But we also felt like, okay, you can either say, we're just not going to do that, or you could say, could we use the medium that is the greatest place for misinformation to spread? In this case, it was Instagram. And could we actually like flip it on its head and say, can we use this for education? Can we use this for education? And so we created an account called Seed University and a course that actually happens in the highlight reels. And in order to become a partner with us, you have to go through the course. You have to take a pledge of accountability that you sign, and you have to pass the final exam 100% before you can even think about accessing any links. And so I think, again, like putting friction, just to go back to my original point, like the more friction we put in, of course, we feel that was going to self-select for people that were committed to being educated about what they were sharing, that understood that they were going to take a pledge of accountability, that understand we police the content. I think we take more of the like teach the human to fish, and don't tell them how great your fish is all day, because then they're susceptible to the next person's fish. To just extend like the terrible metaphor, but but that's, I think if you tell them how to fish, every time an ad comes in about fish or a brand approaches them for partnership, it says, oh, I wonder, what does this brand stand for? What are they asking me to do? Is that true? Is that compliant with what I just learned in Seed University in terms of how I could share, what I could say? And I think it just creates a kind of vigilance that, our dream over time was that it wasn't just accountable sharing about us, but actually it could create, what we call a more #accountable future, which, I think, as we've seen over the last year and a half, could really serve us.
Yes. On all kinds of fronts. Yes. Yeah. So let's talk about the last 18 months.
Oh man, the last 18 months. I mean, look, as everybody, as humans, as you know, I think everyone just did their best this last 18 months. I don't think most people weren't necessarily like equipped for a million things, whether it was like supply chain or children like schooling or just figuring out literally everything. And particularly from like I would say from a leadership perspective, I learned a tremendous amount about how critical and important it is to go inwards as a company. Again, just going to that like short-term versus long-term thinking. We didn't have product for most of the last year. So, we were able to maintain like our subscription refills. And even that, at certain moments had like, because of COVID had interesting disruptions. We turned off all of our ads too. I think we felt that there was way too much opportunism. We saw all kinds of stuff around like immune boosting and the opportunism that came with people's fear. And we wanted like nothing to do with it. Now, granted, with no ads and no product, we grew 15% a month, which is crazy. And we had a massive, that was just for those months. And then after that, like it was exponential from there. But like, I think it showed us a lot about the resilience of the system that I expressed to you, which is that we focused on education. We built homeschool learning courses that hundreds of people, thousands of people from around the world went through. We built this course called Story of You that like thousands of people from around the world took on our Instagram that really just allowed people to learn. We showed up in all the ways that our value system kind of like that we were set up to show up. And that was really around like the education and the scientific translation. And we listened a lot. And I think we went inwards. And of course, like, emerge from it looking at some of the systems and infrastructure that would make us even more resilient moving forward. Because of course, like you have one of those moments, of course, you have one of those moments and you learn a lot about where your leaks are.
This has been a fantastic conversation. I think really what I've taken away from it is just break all the things and reinvent them according to your values, and growth happens. Is it that simple?
And play the long game.
And play the long game. I love that. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us and your insights. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for all the wonderful questions.
Okay. We've been talking about growth throughout our show, and it's impossible to talk about growth without touching on B2B. As the opportunity of digital commerce continues to evolve, we're seeing more and more D2C brands expand into B2B. For some, B2B expansion is a response to explosive growth and demand from retailers. And for others, it's a proactive recognition of huge untapped potential and a smart way of breaking into new markets and new distribution channels. We've heard from our merchants and we've learned from their experiences, and we've put a stake in the ground. We're building B2B features directly into our platform, because B2B at Shopify is not an afterthought. We're making exciting changes to support more merchants who sell both D2C and B2B, so more and more brands will be able to give their consumer and their business customers an incredible buyer experience that they're proud of. Soon, Shopify Plus merchants will be able to better manage their business customers, offer personalized pricing and payment terms to each buyer, and provide a seamless B2B checkout flow. And they'll be able to do it all from one centralized admin experience using all the other Shopify features they already know and love. There's a lot to come with B2B from Shopify, starting with the launch of a new offering in the early half of next year, and even more through 2022 and beyond.
You know, B2B is such an exciting growth opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how our D2C brands unlock this in their next stage of growth. But we all know there's no one size that fits all to growth and opportunities. Every brand story is different. I spoke with marketers and creatives inside Bala, Bombas, and Dos & Co. about how they make their brands stand out and continue to approach their audiences in new and exciting ways. Let's have a look. Welcome, everyone. So excited to get into this conversation and really want to get into the stories about your brands, how you're bringing them to life, and how they're growing in this time, and share it with everyone here in our audience. Mark, I'm going to start with you. Dose & Co., you're based in New Zealand. Talk to me about your omni-channel strategy, how you're approaching expansion. How do you think about those next steps into those new markets?
Yeah, so Dose & Co. initially started as a pretty small e-commerce store, Shopify e-commerce store here in New Zealand. And after it started gaining some traction, we made the decision to partner with some larger retailer stores to increase our distribution, as well as hit the older customer who may not be as prevalent online. So since then, we've been able to launch Dose & Co. into 4 international markets and work with some of the biggest retailers in the world, like Walmart and Target. So essentially, we want Dose & Co. to be as accessible as possible, be it through our own Shopify store, Amazon, or a local retailer. So our channel strategy consists of providing a best-in-class online experience with customers via our website, EDMs, SMS marketing, customer care team, or our social presence, and pairing this with established legacy retailers in each new market. So essentially meaning whilst we're able to run ads online to targeted audiences and see what messaging resonates, be it driving sales, building our audience, or just bringing awareness to new customers, we're also able to take advantage of the foot traffic and the traditional brick and mortar model, remaining top of mind with our consumers. So essentially, with markets heading in out of lockdowns recently, we've seen a really positive amount of people move to a subscription where purchasing from in-store may be limited, which is allowing our customers this flexibility and accessibility is really important for us.
Kate, take us back a year. We're like deep pandemic. Talk to me about how has Bombas either changed its strategy or pivoted its strategy? What have you learned about your core customer, your audience, in this last year?
Yeah. I think probably the biggest thing that we saw was in a moment where people were, the world was in a really challenging place, that our mission really set us apart in a way that, mission has been integral to our founding story. It was sort of the origin of the brand was that one of the founders saw a quote on Facebook that socks were the most requested clothing item in homeless shelters. So it's always been really core to us and something that we sort of knew resonated with our customers. But during COVID, during the pandemic, we really saw that our customers were engaging at a much higher level with our giving related emails, and that mission was resonating in really different ways with both the pandemic and also the Black Lives Matter related protests around George Floyd. Customers are really looking for companies that reflected their values, and mission is so central to what we do and has been for so long that it was, it was very cool to see our customers engaging with that mission so directly.
Yeah. I think, the combination of all those things coming together over the year, combined with, what we're seeing in Gen Z trends in terms of just being really invested in what brands are saying and what they stand for, I'm sure is really coming together for a company that lives by its values like you do. Yeah. Natalie, Bala is also like very a socially driven brand. From what I understand, you actually didn't invest in paid advertising upfront, and a lot of your growth is organic. This is the dream. This is what everybody wants to know how to do. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was because when we launched Bala, we invested $5,000 of my husband and my money at the time. And so we really just had no money. We launched with the Kickstarter that funded our first production run. So it was really out of necessity. We were we can't afford to run ads. We can barely afford to buy the next round of products. So it was really because of that we didn't run ads, and we really relied on the strength of the product itself. And so our theory early on was that if somebody wore bangles on a walk in a yoga class, that other people would see them and say, hey, I want that as well. I'm already working out. Let's make it a little bit harder. And so that theory tested true. And we really, really relied on word of mouth marketing, gifting influencers, and then them just loving the product. So they would post about it. So it was really just product spoke for itself. And since the product is so visual, that really helped us to sell the product. And it is something yes, you can wear the bangles at home, but it really was launched to wear them out in the world at first before COVID. So that was the whole thesis, and that's kind of still been true. We did start running paid ads, of course, like at the beginning of this year, and have grown since then. And that's, we have a paid strategy and everything, but it's interesting that we started for the first, 2.5 years not running paid advertising.
No, and what I find really interesting about your brand is just the commitment to the brand visually, right? You wrap it in such a beautiful aesthetic. It appeals to the millennial look. I think that's probably why I like it. How did you decide that, this editorial commitment was important to your brand?
Well, first off, thank you. And it's because basically the fitness industry is like super crowded. We knew that early on. When we launched, we were like, how can we be different? And so we wanted our brand to stick out in a sea of amazing brands, but a lot of like fitness brands. So some similar brands out there. And we were like, how can we be different? And we thought the product's fashionable. If we truly blur the lines between fashion and fitness, like sometimes in a very dramatic way, like we'll put a girl in heels, like lifting weights, which is not meant literally. And people ask us all the time. It's just like, it's creative direction. It's fun. It's, art direction. But I think early on we knew we wanted to stand out, and we felt like fashion was a true element to our brand. And we since then feel like, it's like truly the only fitness brand that's truly merging fashion and fitness.
Kate, I'd love to get back to what you were talking about before in terms of being a mission-driven company. How do you balance marketing with that mission? How do you think about your marketing strategy as it relates to getting the word out there about the mission versus the product and how it fits into your brand?
The product and the mission are really deeply intertwined. And so from pretty early on, we were clear that we didn't want the mission to become an afterthought. We didn't want it to be something that people had to really dig to find out that we were doing. It felt just so central to why we chose that specific product, initially socks, now underwear and t-shirts as well. So we really think about it on a channel by channel basis. And we, ideally are trying to get product and mission in everything we do. In something like a TV ad, we have obviously a lot more room to tell a mission story. Whereas like in a search ad, it's maybe a small snippet of copy. So channel to channel, it varies how much we play up one versus the other, but we really do try to include both mission and product in really everything that we do.
I feel like that is what makes a brand feel authentic at the same time. Like it can't be a standalone, right? It has to be in every single piece of marketing, whether it's small or big. Mark, I want to actually get back to something Natalie had said about, the crowded fitness space and needing to stand out in that industry. Wellness is, every Instagram ad I get is another, wellness product. Talk to me about cutting through that clutter. How do you break through?
Yeah, it's an old one. I mean, definitely wellness and collagen as a whole don't carry over between markets as we initially thought. I mean, collagen is super prevalent in the US, but it's largely unknown in the UK, which means we've got to spend a bit more time and budget on educating the market. It's a massive opportunity in those markets, though, as we get a chance to grow with that market and become a household name rather than being the disruptor coming in late like we are in the US. Similarly, localizing our marketing strategy in e-commerce stores across markets requires a bit more thought than just copying and pasting it from previous launches. So we see collagen skewing younger or older in different markets. So really tailoring our strategy to reach the right consumer is key.
And so in that, you've made this really tight partnership with Khloe Kardashian especially for your US market, from what I understand. And here at Shopify, we know and love the whole Kardashian crew and all the amazing businesses they've built. What sort of led you to Chloe? What was it about her and your brand that matched and made sense to make that kind of close partnership?
Yeah, getting Chloe on board was massive for a small New Zealand brand to be partnered on a global scale with a celebrity of that status is pretty much unheard of. So the partnership formed pretty quickly. After the birth of her daughter True, Chloe found Dose & Co. actually, and it helped her massively with things like postpartum hair loss. So she really lent in with us and wanted to be a part of what we were doing with Dose & Co. So like most brand ambassadors, it's super important for them to love and believe in the product. So with Chloe, it was really a natural alignment. So it's been awesome since Chloe's been on board. We've been opened up to a whole new wave of opportunity, big traffic numbers, being able to leverage her online presence and platforms, gifting to her wider network, including Kylie and Chris.
Are you looking to replicate this kind of relationship in other markets?
Yeah, I mean, Chloe is definitely the face of Dose & Co. kind of globally. She's got a massive following in the USA primarily, but also plenty of reach in both existing and new markets. When you break down her her following, it's surprising how wide kind of her reach goes. So definitely having localized networks is crucial for Dose & Co.'s success, big affiliate networks. It's one of those products where a large portion of conversions are made off people seeing positive results from others, especially from those that they trust or follow. So having specific influencers in each market that are relevant and relatable make a huge difference to our presence and success in each market.
Natalie, Bala is off to an amazing start, but your brand is still, it's still in its early phases. How do you think about what's the next iteration for you and your company? What's the next stage of growth?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot going on behind the scenes that you can't see out there yet. So it's like, we're in the middle of a rebrand, new website, new packaging, new product, all of that stuff that you would guess. We have a really amazing product roadmap for the next few years. But what we have realized recently, or we just know it because basically we have a lot of counterfeits globally. And so it's obviously super unfortunate, but what we realize is that the product does translate globally. So that's going to be a huge focus for us, is just expanding into other international markets. We recently opened our Shopify store in Australia, and they're already doing 25% what our US market is doing. So that was pretty good. And we're looking at the UK, Canada, a few other markets, potentially Japan. And I think that will definitely be in the next few years a focus of ours, is expanding the product assortment and expanding internationally.
All right. So last question that goes for all of you, because this is really what everybody who is running a brand wants to know, is how are you approaching the holiday season? Any tips, any cool ideas you guys got cooking? Natalie, you want to go first?
Oh, let me think. We have a lot going on. I think we're approaching it in many different ways. I think we're launching some kit extensions, some specific color stories around holiday. Let me think what else we're doing. We're building a new website. I think we'll do several holiday events. I got to think about what else I can share there, but that's the start.
I'm reading between the lines that we need to all wait for this new website, because it sounds like
yes. That's a big brand moment for us.
Awesome. Mark, how about you guys?
Yeah, I can't leak too much, but definitely lots of exciting things happening, lots of exciting promos, lots of utilizing kind of buy now, pay later promotional days and activities, and especially throughout the Christmas period, it's going to be really exciting with kind of campaigns starting and a lot of exciting promotions. So
we also can't say too much, but it's going to be our first holiday season with underwear, so we're pretty excited about that. And then we're doing something a little bit different with our promotional approach this year, changing it really for the first time in several years. So excited to learn from that, and hopefully it's more customer friendly.
Awesome. All right. Well, I want to thank you all for coming and sharing what's going on with your brands and the way that you're approaching growth and marketing and opportunities. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we move on to the next topic, I thought it was really interesting to hear Bala talk about counterfeits. Building a best-in-class brand takes time, and when it's done right, it often catches the eyes of a lot of people. Peak Design took a creative approach to their copycats earlier this year that went viral. Let's have a look.
This is the Everyday Sling by Peak Design, and this is the Everyday Sling by Amazon Basics. It looks suspiciously like the Peak Design Everyday Sling, but you don't have to pay for all those needless bells and whistles, like years of research and development, recycled Blue Sign approved materials, a lifetime warranty, fairly paid factory workers, and total carbon neutrality. Instead, you just get a bag designed by the crack team at the Amazon Basics department.
It's so good.
That was phenomenal. I love the boldness, and I love that they made a decision and that they did it quickly. That's actually the magic of D2C, digital first brands. This is an area where their size actually becomes their advantage.
Completely agree. Love when brands play truth to power like that.
Absolutely. Like, don't you absolutely want to be a fly on the wall when someone came up with that idea? So I decided to do just that. I wanted to dig into how this happened and a little bit more with Peak Design. So I sat down with their VP of Marketing and Growth to talk about this video and a whole bunch more. Let's have a look. I am joined by Peak Design's VP of Marketing and Growth, Elish. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. So as we just saw, we got to watch your incredible Tale of Two Slings video. Dying to know, like, how did it come to be? And were you surprised at the response to the video?
Definitely surprised at the response to the video. Like, it really started out as a fun project. We were just like, this is crazy. We're no stranger to ripoffs of our products. You know, our first product, the capture clip, is a way of carrying your camera in the outdoors and clipping it to your backpack or anything, or any strap. And people knock that off all the time. But usually it's not someone like Amazon. And usually you can definitely still tell, like, it's made by someone else. They changed the logo. They changed this or that. Amazon, like, took our product and copied it exactly. And down to we put our logo on this patch of Hypalon on a very specific part of the bag. Mm-hmm. And they literally put the exact same shape, the exact same material, in the exact same location, and put Amazon Basics there instead of Peak Design. So it was just sort of like, this is the craziest we've seen and we sell on Amazon, right? So it's even crazier. And we're obviously, like, we're a small fry. We're not going to go up against Amazon. We do a little bit of, patent infringement, protecting our products, but there was nothing we could do except for just make fun of this. We thought it was hilarious that they did this. So Adam Saraceno on our team wrote a script for it, and we have a really great in-house video team that just went, and we have a lot of fun when we record our collateral and our videos. We do all our own videos, and this just seemed like another great opportunity to make a really fun video. And then we put it up there, and it went crazy. I think we had over 500,000 views within the first day or so, which was insane. And then people came knocking and saying, "This is crazy," and we agreed. It was crazy.
Well, I think that also speaks to, your community, right? Like, your customer base are such dedicated community members, the photography community, and obviously, like, your products push beyond that, but that's really where you started. And I feel like that video just, like, hits home with a community so well, and then can just get shared, right? In really quick ways.
Absolutely. Especially, YouTube has grown so much as well. And the way we interact with our customers, we've tried to keep true to how we started, which was on Kickstarter, where people were involved in the development of our products and being able to, like, speak directly to us on the features included
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so, like, talk to me about that. It's so fascinating to me. Like, yes, you call yourself a small fry, but you guys, you're a fast growing, successful company, but you still do this Kickstarter model. Can you tell me a little bit more about why you do it and why you continue to do it?
Yeah, it's definitely evolved over the years, right? When we first started, it was that we needed the money and the input of our customers to get us over the line to production, and especially at big numbers on being able to ship globally. And then as we evolved, it was a combination of staying kind of within our community of you guys get a big discount to be a part of this at the beginning. You get a say in kind of what to a degree, you get a say in, is this what you want in it? Is that, do you like this? And we have made some last minute changes in our designs for certain projects because of the influence of our Kickstarter community. But yeah, then as time went along, it is certainly a marketing tool for us. We don't need the money as much, but it is a way for us to make sure that we can get a good story around it, get our community both back involved with it, hyped about it, excited about it, and then to give a soundbite to PR and news to kind of like, this company raised this much money to launch a product. And that's still important when it comes to a company our size, because we're not spending millions on our advertising, on our marketing. We're still relying on word of mouth and a community of people to get the word out about our products. And we just know Kickstarter and we love it. And it's still the best place for our customers to get a great deal, because we usually discount something like 20% at the onset of this, and it helps us market our product.
Yeah. And keeps just re-engaging your community, which I think is, the power makes evangelists out of every single one of your customers, which is magic, right? Okay, so Peak Designs, you're in, many retailers, you have your own flagship store, you go to D2C online. What's next?
We're definitely at this inflection point of, as you said earlier, from a small, medium business to growing into a much larger business, especially as we go into creating this mobile line of products. And we're actually really excited next year for a year of probably not any big launches and focus on the business and how we're running it. So we have our fingers in a lot of the footprints that we need to go after. But the next exciting step from my point of view is sort of making it all hum a little bit better, making sure that all of our video and collateral gets out there into all of different places. And speaking as a largely D2C brand, we are distributed, so we have a retailer and our D2C company. And previously that was a tug of war between the two. But I think we're finally getting to the stage where our distributors and our retailers find the work we do on our D2C side really lifts all ships. And so the exciting part is getting to that stage of the company where we can do all of those things, and all of our marketing and collateral work can really be a part of the whole story. And so we can shift most of our work strictly to the brand and the story of the company side.
That's awesome. That's so great. Well, Elish, thank you so much for sharing all of this great insight with us and the story behind the video and all the nuggets that you gave us around Kickstarter and leveraging all your channels. We really, really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Of course. Yeah.